Hey guys, Tyler here with Seller Accountant again. And in the last video, we talked about should I select my accounting software based on the accountant or vice versa? And I basically argued it kind of depends on whether you have a valid system and it depends on how much you care about the software. You know, the less you care or the more obsolete your system is, the more likely you're just going to hire the jockey, so to speak, hire the accountant, whether it's internal or a firm like Seller Accountant, and you're going to let them pick the software they want. And what I promised you for the next video, which is this one, is I want to talk in particular about Xero versus QuickBooks Online, and maybe I'll add an anecdote about Oracle's NetSuite at the end. But to start on the ones that are most popular, amongst all of the sellers that we've worked with, and it's not even close, the software Xero and the software QuickBooks Online are very much the most popular. They probably combine for more than 94% of the market share. And so they're both really, the reason is they're really, really good. These are both very good accounting softwares. Neither of them solve every accounting problem perfectly. Like for instance, at Seller Accountant, we don't use the inventory module baked into either of these softwares because the ability to individually manage units for an e-commerce store within Xero or QuickBooks Online is not very good. They're similar in cost depending on which version you purchase. You're going to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 a month to have access to either Xero or QuickBooks Online. And so which one should you choose, right? And so this is for me, this is even before I give you any thoughts on what our preference is. You should go back to what we talked about in the prior post. How familiar are you with your current system? For instance, if I'm using Xero and I love it, I know how to pull my reports. It's a no-brainer. It's one less thing I have to wrestle with each week or each month. Therefore, I'm more likely to actually use the data in those reports to make good choices. Then stay with Xero. Same thing with QuickBooks Online. If I'm familiar with QuickBooks Online, I feel comfortable with that interface, I like the reporting, then I'm going to choose to stick with QuickBooks Online. The nice thing about both of these softwares is they both allow you to fully reconcile, to put a name on every dollar and to ensure that we haven't lost any dollars, those kind of things. And then, again, like we talked about in the last post, to the extent that you maybe don't care, you may want to make sure you hire the right accountant, because especially if you just don't want to touch your accounting. I don't want to do it. Well, then make sure you hire someone and let them use the system that they like to use, unless you're super entrenched in the system you have. And so why did Seller Accountant kind of choose QuickBooks Online over Xero? Because we did. So I had this kind of dilemma when we first started the firm about 3 years ago to say, are we going to do both? Are we going to do one? Are we going to do the other? And ultimately, after making some phone calls to kind of leaders within both companies, the fact that I was already entrenched in QuickBooks Online in the prior company that I sold into 2017, I just decided to stick with QuickBooks Online. We thought, you know what, there are some firms out there, even within e-commerce, that do Xero accounting very well. If we run into sellers who really love their Xero account, we're not going to try to sell them QuickBooks Online. We'll help them find a firm that does Xero. But for Seller Accountant, we believe there are riches and niches. How can we be so specific, so focused, so great at just a tiny number of things that we might be able to generate just outsized value and outsized leverage for our customers? So we chose QuickBooks Online, probably more in the vein of strategic laziness, right? Just wanting to be really focused. But it doesn't mean that QuickBooks Online is vastly superior to Xero. I think it's a little bit better. I like the reporting a little bit more. I like the interface a little bit more. I like the integrations with banks a little bit better in QuickBooks Online, but I use Xero to help assess potential clients all the time, and that software is fine also. So I think the big picture here is if you're happy with what you got, stick with it. If you don't care, hire the right accountant and let them choose. If you really don't even have a system, I think I would definitely start with looking at the accounting. Now, the other software that pops up a lot is NetSuite. When should I consider NetSuite? Which, by the way, NetSuite is more of a mid-market, larger enterprise level, kind of claiming to be closer to an ERP, a fully integrated system, very custom, very expensive. The NetSuite contracts that I've looked at for some of my contacts are, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 per year. You're normally signing a 4 or 5 or 6 year commitment. And so when do I want to bite off that kind of accounting system? And obviously you're going to have to be very large, and not just very large, because we've had $30 million sellers still use QuickBooks Online and be very happy with it. But if you're very large and very complex in the way you sell, bring in revenue, the way you're trying to track customer data, then at some point, maybe you're $15, $20 million in revenue, it might make sense to go ahead and bite off that larger contract. I would just caution you though, because I've talked to several NetSuite former users that that were just felt really, really bullied by the contract itself. So just be aware. I've talked to other guys that have been super happy because they negotiated a good deal with NetSuite. And even though they knew they were tied in for long term, they had great support and they had a good experience. However, for the normal, sub $20 million e-commerce seller looking to scale, looking to sell, looking to get through due diligence, QuickBooks Online, which is our favorite, or Xero, which is also really good, are probably the two softwares you're going to be choosing from. And I hope this helps you. I would just get a free trial to both of them and try them out if you're unsure and you don't want to hire an accountant yet. Take care, guys.